I'm Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Federation Starship Enterprise. How can we be prepared for that which we do not know? But I do know we are ready to encounter it. Really? Yes, absolutely. That's why we're out here.
Your Honor, Starfleet was founded to seek out new life. Well, there it sits. This is about saving the future of humanity.
Things are only impossible until they're not.
Yes, sir. The first duty of every Starfleet officer is to the truth, whether it's scientific truth, or historical truth, or personal truth. It is the guiding principle on which Starfleet is based.
Come. I am Locutus of Borg.
Tea Earl Grey, hot.
Make it so.
Captain, I have complete confidence in your ability to represent my interests.
Oh, Data. You never know what's over the horizon.
To new worlds, sir.
To new worlds.
Engage.
Hello and welcome to Picard Parsec, a podcast about the CBS All Access series Star Trek Picard. I'm Travis Fishburne.
I'm Ryan DeVere.
And I'm the guy Ryan doesn't like to talk to about Star Trek.
Oh no.
I may or may not have said that I like talking with Kaylee, his wife, about Star Trek because she is a well-versed Star Trek fan.
So I'm here to observe only.
And you'll be observing us covering Season 1, Episode 4, Absolute Candor.
I'm looking forward to watching the podcast firsthand.
Episode 4, Picard goes to
I'm going to hang up and listen.
Oh,
It is
yeah.
yes. Rivendell.
Exactly.
Elements of Rivendell, yeah. Which they didn't even try to not. Like, at first, it sort of looked like it, but then when he came back with Elnor, which is just Elrond, just a little bit mixed up.
Hugo
He did,
Weaving was busy that day.
The full elven garb. Like, it could have just been Legolas. They didn't even, they just leaned so hard into it.
They added a little bit of like samurai in there too.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
You know, the cultural appropriation from several different viewpoints. But
I guess so.
But anyway.
We're in space, guys.
Yeah, kinda.
We're not
I love that
on
the
Earth.
first scene with Picard in space was just back at Chateau Picard.
Yes, it was. But
It's true.
right away, what we do first, which we always have to do, is we have a flashback to 14 years
Yes.
ago.
A longer flashback.
It's very important that we know everything that happened in that instance.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 14 years ago on the planet Vashti. Well, I guess first off, like, how did you guys feel about the episode?
Good. This had a very different tone than several of the other episodes. Yeah, I'm surprised that we're still getting the team together. Like, especially since last episode ended with like
We're all ready to
team's
go.
all here, and now this episode
Let's go to Free Cloud.
we're expanding
Well,
that
hold on.
even more.
Hold on.
Yeah. It's a weird stutter on what felt like momentum we were building on. But
It seemed totally detached from the story. You guys had talked about how they just rehash everything. They didn't do that.
Oh,
Not really.
They did. There was one point which it did happen.
Not as much, though.
every new character has to be caught up to speed, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
It was a strange little detour off on his guilt trip.
This is probably the
Literal.
least Star Trek that any of the episodes has felt.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just, it was, well, first of all, I mean, with the opening scene, you kind of get like Caribbean Picard in his outfit and
This fedora.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were your thoughts? Did you like it?
I
Did you-
actually enjoyed it quite a bit. After it ended, I was like, oh, I really like that a lot more than the previous two. I like the pilot, but just based on the like the issues that this show has had, like getting going.
yeah.
Not that this necessarily fixes that, but it felt a little more
We
exciting.
went somewhere else.
Yeah.
No, so I enjoyed the episode. I guess it just leaves me questioning, okay, the way it sets up is next episode just going to be more exposition of the same stuff because now we have to catch up new people to what we're doing
7
again.
of 9. Let me sit you down and tell you what happened for
Right.
the past 4 episodes.
Exactly.
And episode 5 is just episode 1 again,
Yeah.
and they just restart.
Yeah. It's just
Every
all
time
a
they show
flashback.
the previously on Picard, I'm like, why do this? Like, the characters are going to do this for us anyway.
Yeah. So I enjoyed the episode. I really did. Like they did something different with it. They introduced cool characters. We're still cherry picking of the best of Star Trek over the years. I'm just getting a little bit of like hesitation to be like, all right, and we're off, and here we go, and one more time. They don't have a cook yet, so maybe next episode we'll bring in a cook.
Or it could be one of the programs
right,
on.
yeah.
Yeah,
that's
I'm
true.
sure they
On
have
the
one.
show.
They have a hospitality hologram. I'm sure
That's
they
true.
Sure
They've
have a
just
cook.
filled out the rest of the roles with one guy.
That's what I thought when the tactical one came up. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this is how we can like run the whole ship with one person.
Yeah. So last episode I felt like we were ready to go, and we're still getting ready to go.
Now we're ready to go.
Now we're ready to go.
Now we're ready to go.
Now it's all...
We have Elnor.
We're going to Free Cloud,
We're-
man.
Well, after another stop, probably. He's got...
Well, he's an older gentleman. He has to make stops frequently.
There's no bathroom
frequent
on the
stuff.
ship. Which is
But-
it's called the La Serena, I found out.
La Serena.
Because when I was taking the notes, I'm like, I can't just keep calling it like Rios' ship.
Yeah.
So I looked it up. It's La Serena.
What does that mean? It's
The siren.
Yeah.
The siren.
Which
Like a mermaid
seems like an
siren,
appropriate-
sort of.
Yeah.
No, just
Or
like
from
a
the Odyssey.
foghorn.
Or,
Well, there's multiple kinds of sirens. I'm just trying to be... Yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine kind of the
Not
seductress
just, not
kind
just
of.
like a police siren.
No, probably not.
He doesn't just support law enforcement. It's more of a... Okay. Probably more on that later.
Anyway, so we open up
Yeah.
on Vashti.
14 years ago, and Picard arrives to meet a group of Romulans called the Kowat Milat. And they are helping him with the Romulan relocation program, and he is giving them updates on the operation. And there is a boy under their care named Elnor, whom Picard rescued and left with them. But with the reassurance that he will find a new home for him. But before he can, he gets a call from Raffi that Mars has been attacked.
To my knowledge, this is a whole new sect of Romulans. I've never heard of them before. And it's established here that they observe absolute candor.
Yeah.
It's
the name of the episode.
It's the name of it right off the bat. We got that, which was an interesting little tidbit. That's something Star Trek has always done really well. Is each species gets some sort of characteristic, but also their culture has some sort of.
Well, they're
observance
Romulan,
too.
right?
Yeah,
They are.
So
Which
like,
they have to tell you because you can't see their ears or anything.
right.
So,
It's just a fun little tidbit that I feel like Star Trek does really well to give each species not only just like their racial traits, but also like their culture grows and changes in different ways, and different groups believe different things, and yeah.
And they are staunchly opposite of the Jatvash.
Yeah.
Staunchly.
The same. They didn't say Jatvash.
no,
They
they've
never
not
talked-
said Jat Vash for a while. They keep referring to them as the Tal Shiar, which they are like a subgroup of the Tal Shiar.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
all Jat Vash are Tal Shiar, but not all Tal Shiar are Jat Vash.
Right. Yes.
Yes.
That's exactly what. No. Yeah. They've kind of generalized it,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I think for the sake of the audience, to be honest.
So they
And
don't
for
have to
these other
keep explain-
characters, because because the Jat Vash are something brand new that
And sort of a myth,
Mars
too.
tells him about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he has to say Tal Shiar because everyone's like, oh, I know what that means.
Yeah.
Not this other one where he's like, now let me explain this to you. Which they spared us that. So
But as Romulans, wouldn't they know about the myth of the Jotvash?
Probably the myth, maybe.
It seemed to be pretty common because Chuban rolled his eyes when she was going to tell him about it.
They also
it seems to be pretty. It just seems like common knowledge.
I don't know about that.
Between those two Romulans, at least.
Shuban and
Laris.
Yeah. They seem particularly well versed in kind of Romulan history and that myth in particular.
So at least by saying the other one, I know the name. I'm just not going to say it because I don't want to rehash it. Yes, that.
Jotva.
Yeah, they're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, this interesting group of like Romulan nuns,
women
ninja nuns. Yeah.
Apparently ninja nuns.
Yeah, it's
they got this boy.
Which was brought to my attention that like another thing that this is kind of stealing from to a degree is Dune. If you're familiar with Dune and like the there's like that whole sisterhood that like boys aren't really like a part of, and they have certain practices where they can control you with specific words, and they're like awesome fighters and all that. It's very interesting.
Oh,
I feel like if they were in America, though, much like the Boy Scouts, they would be forced to allow the other gender in, and then we could have like Elnor could be a fully fledged member of their club. Just seems like they're discriminating.
Right. Yeah, I mean, how could they do that to him?
Yeah, it's unfair. Man. It's outrageous.
What we've seen so far is references to Dune, then also references to Asimov, iRobot, and Foundations, and all that. It seems like they're really tying Star Trek back into old school sci-fi, which I kind of appreciate because Star Trek is one of the few like lingering survivors of that generation.
Yeah,
and we have Dune.
From the 60s.
Dune. They're going to try Dune again. We've never quite gotten it right, but
I think they're going to do it.
You think so? You think they'll make the Dune that we all have wanted?
I love Denis Villeneuve, and all right, tangent, but like who on earth would have thought like when it was announced they're gonna make a Blade Runner sequel, you're like, no, this is not gonna, you can't do it, and then you did it, and you're like,
yeah,
how is this on par with the original? how did that happen?
Who did they have Roger Deakins on board to do any of the cinematography for Dune? Do you know?
Dune, I don't know who's doing the cinematography, but that's what won him his first Oscar. And then he just won another one recently.
I'm not surprised. The dude is amazing. I just can't picture trying to approach that project without a cinematographer like that, which there aren't other cinematographers like that. Anyway, side thought. It's just interesting that they've deliberately tied Star Trek back into old school sci-fi, where Star Wars seems to be moving more towards trying to be something else and something new and different.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see how that plays out for everybody.
Oh. This has nothing to do with Star Trek. We're going back to Dune. I looked up the cinematographer, and it's his name is Greg Fraser. He's the cinematographer for Rogue One. Zero Dark 30.
Seriously?
He's also doing the Batman. Oh, he did 3 episodes of The Mandalorian. So, okay.
The new Batman?
Yes, the new one with
Robert
Pattinson.
Oh my gosh. Oh no, this is just going to turn into movie talk, but Robert Pattinson as Batman. Oh, no.
I'm excited.
Are you really?
That's what everybody said about Heath Ledger as Joker.
That's fair. I guess it's been a while since those conversations, but
yeah.
Have you seen the test reel that they did?
I didn't watch it. No.
It's just him in the suit, and maybe it's not the final suit, but
I don't understand why they released that.
I don't know. The Witcher did the same thing with Henry Cavill. They're like, we got him in. It looked terrible, and everybody was like, oh great, this is gonna flop really hard, and it came out and people are like, wow, he plays the character well. So maybe it'll be the same kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know, that test footage really soured me to that.
I've seen images from it. I've not watched it in motion, but I have faith in Matt Reeves. I like Robert Pattinson. I just watched him in The Lighthouse. And
what if they get
fantastic?
Oh no! So what if in this new Batman universe they cast Taylor Lautner as Joker, and they go a whole different direction with Joker,
or Man-Bat,
or we've not seen Man-Bat.
No, they haven't done Man-Bat.
Perfect. Yet. Anyway, Elnor was a really cool addition. So yeah, Batman will be interesting. But to get back to Star Trek,
yeah,
I thought that was a cool little interaction with Elnor 15 years ago, talking about like, does Picard even really like me? I don't. And Picard's like, no, I don't. I don't care. It's not just you either. I don't care for any kids.
Well, he has to defend himself.
Yeah,
it's Zanny. Zanny he asks, and then Zanny's like, he doesn't care for any kids
because they're annoying and they get in the way
of both business and pleasure.
Yeah.
And Picard nods like, yeah,
that's right on. All parents everywhere were like, yep, that is well said.
To which he's like, oh, my feelings are hurt. I thought you really liked me. And then Picard's like, oh, I do like you. And then,
because I don't have to see you very often.
Yeah. I'm the fun uncle.
Bye. Yeah. Yeah, to which that's when things start going real south. Which is not that. It was just an interesting little thing. Like he wasn't on board a starship when it happened. He wasn't, because most of the rest of the time when you're with Picard in Next Generation and other places, he's on the ship when things go awry and whatnot. For him to just get terrible news while he's seemingly at rest was a little different.
The trope of a character getting a call and then repeating the thing back, no one would ever, I don't feel like anyone, like if I got a call right now and Kaylee was like, my house burned down, I wouldn't say, what do you mean my house burned down? You never say that. It's just for the audience to know, what do you mean Mars is under attack?
Also, in this series, they didn't have to say that. We would have known what the call was.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Especially because they told us it was 14 a.m. Because we knew what the call was. What do you mean? But it's not just this show. They do it in all the shows. What do you mean this?
Yeah. Would you rather be able to magically hear the voice on the other end? Which is the less intrusive to you?
It just breaks like any immersion that I have when they do like stupid little tropes like that.
I was going to say you can trace it all back to Star Wars, because all of the lines that we know that R2 says are C-3PO repeating them.
Don't you call me a mindless philosopher, you overweight glob of grease. Now come on before somebody sees you.
It's true.
But he doesn't say, what do you mean Luke is... Like he just...
Sure, he does. He does that. That's all he does.
I beg your pardon, but what do you mean, naked?
When he talks to R2.
Every response... Yeah, Anthony Daniels' whole career is built on repeating something another character said.
Interpreting for... Yeah.
That's interesting. I've never thought of that in terms of... He doesn't do that to the human characters. It's just R2 because we have to know
the audience.
Right. That's interesting. Oh no, it's ruined R2 for me. I guess Han kind of does the same thing for Chewie.
Han responds to Chewie more,
but it's more of it's more a response.
Yeah, whereas 3PO just has to get into that translator mode.
Maybe that's why Poe hates him so much, is he just like repeats everything that BB-8 says. That's a different discussion.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Star Trek again. Keep getting sidelined.
I like this opening because it sort of grounded this huge event that they've talked about to actual faces on it. And we go back to later on. It's not just this idea of this whole race of people out there. Like this seems to be the the poster boy people, men, women, for this Romulan. They're
Refugee,
refugee. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've spent most of our time on Earth with humans, talking about how they withdrew aid. We haven't seen
We're seeing the other side of
Yeah.
the.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also, just
Thank
how.
you. I bet Kaylee probably wouldn't have thought of that.
No, she might not
No,
have.
that was very insightful.
Man, I'm not living that one down here. So then, what's the next scene once
So,
we jump back to current time?
Once we get aboard current times, we're on the La Serena, and we see Rios reading his book, and Dr. Girardi interrupts to talk about how empty and boring space is. And then Raffi arrives and asks why they're on a different course, and then we cut to Picard in a holodeck recreation of his study with an EHH, an emergency hospitality hologram, and then he's called Mr. Hospitality according to the subtitles.
That's the character's name, it's Mr. Hospitality.
So, and then Raffi comes and asks if he's out of his mind going back to Vashti.
I thought after 3 episodes about Star Trek and space, of not being in space, the first thing that a character does in space is talk about how boring space is.
Let's go back to that room that recreates the set we've been to the previous 3 episodes.
Yeah.
They just undermine their entire show. Like, we're like, let's do this, come on. And then the first thing they do is like, this sucks. Our
Space.
show is terrible.
The final frontier, and it's just nothingness.
Keep that in mind, is that you're going to be bored the rest of the show.
But then she turns it around. She goes, actually, well, no, there's so many stars, and that she walks it back.
It called
and says,
vast quantities of stuff.
Yeah, right.
Quantities of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's still probably boring.
A little
just standing there
Yeah.
looking. But to me, this just solidifies more that you can't trust her. I don't know. She seemed nervous the whole time. This seemed like a scene that's supposed to win over the audience, and I was like, I'm not buying it.
She's definitely the quirky, or meant to be the quirky, like, comedy relief
Oh yeah.
character, and I don't know that she.
I'm saying she's a mole. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not saying. I don't know that she's pulling it off.
Star Trek has never really done the quirky comic relief character well. Like, they've tried.
Yeah, when they do, they're in an episode. They're a guest character in an episode.
In Next Generation, yeah. So I'm trying to watch through Voyager, which we talked about before the podcast. And there's the cook on that show. His name is Neelix.
That's right, people. We talk about Star Trek before we start talking about Star Trek.
And after.
And
It's a
then-
lifestyle.
I was going to say, and then when we record the podcast to talk about Star Trek, we talk about other things.
Batman.
It's because we're tired of talking about Star Trek.
But Neelix is supposed to be like this quirky. He's the not star treading Voyager, but it just falls flat there too. I don't know why that is. But yeah, I agree. She's supposed to be kind of this quirky but lovable character, and so far she just feels very much fish out of water.
Yeah. Do you think that she might be a creation of Maddox, and she might be just like Soji and Dahj?
Now I do. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
I guess I doubt it.
That could be the false front door.
Yeah,
That could be it.
could be it.
There
Oh,
was
maybe.
3 of them.
That's mind blowing. No, because they've already made efforts to like tie her to the Zhat Vash. Then I feel like maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I really don't know. Like, she stated, like, everybody's kind of questioned why she's out in space to begin with.
It would make perfect sense for him to want to have one of them at Daystrom.
Oh yeah, just to monitor.
Yeah. So when
Even-
when his plan comes into fruition, like she'll be in a position.
Yeah.
Interesting.
She also has a sister she's not told anybody about.
Yeah.
She's got this necklace.
Always two there are.
But, yeah.
Yeah, which the necklace is in the study for whatever reason. Like the program recreated that. He's like, oh, thanks for this. It wasn't mine.
We keep coming back to that. I gotta.
It's to remind you that Soji's out there, in case you forgot. When every time they cut to that plot point.
Every single the whole plot of the show so far revolves around getting to her, but
It's hard to forget when half the rest of the show was about her.
Yeah,
And she's in it.
Kaylee sent me a picture this week of a woman wearing a belt with like the two overlapping.
That was Joanna
circles.
Gaines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's like, there's three of them because it's just two circles overlapping. This is not super unique, and yet this show is like coming back to this. This is a big deal.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and then this scene ends with Rios. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
It's the same thing.
So Rios like swears again.
I hate that f***ing hospitality hologram.
Again, like every time I'm like, it takes me out of it. It's weird. Even with a character that, like, I feel like he would say that and should say that, but still I'm like.
It feels like a teenager trying to be edgy when they cuss on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like a 16-year-old smoking a cigarette. Like, I'm rebellious.
That's kind of what it is, though.
Why do we need it?
This is the Star Trek for a new cooler.
But if they were
age.
going to do that, shouldn't they like go all Game of Thrones?
Yeah,
with,
the thing is, like, the rest of the show doesn't have a tone.
It doesn't have
that
anything
I-
else.
Yeah, that I would associate with
Yeah.
a mature rated
Yeah.
show.
So if they're
It
gonna-
feels like something like, other than some like awkward like sex scenes or like a little bit of violence, it's kind of in this realm of like you can watch it with like your older kids, but like I don't know,
Yeah, and
like like the same like family that would be able to like watch Mandalorian together should theoretically be able to watch this based on the tone, and then they throw stuff like that and I'm like, oh well, this is different.
You're alienating a whole audience doing that. Because I know, like growing up, as soon as there was a cuss word, we would turn it off. Like we wouldn't be allowed to watch it because of cuss in it. So if they're going to do that, why? And if they're going to go in the other direction, then why not just have nudity and
feels like a half measure. Especially
just
with
to be edgy. Just
Star Trek has always been rather sexualized. Like there's always been like the eye candy characters. I wonder,
Like Worf.
just like Worf and Data. I mean,
and Narek.
no, I mean, he's hot for a Romulan.
I did not know Romulans could be that hot.
Oof.
Continuing the tradition there.
Yeah, but like Discovery doesn't do it, which is I not that I can remember. I feel like I would if they did, but Discovery doesn't do this. So I'm like, why? Like,
Yeah, it's interesting, and it feels like it. If they were gonna do it, like Rios is a character that seems like he should, but like Starfleet shouldn't. That we've never seen that happen before. Yeah, it feels. You nailed it right on the head. As far as every time it happens, it takes you out of the moment because it's like this is out of place.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
And it's not even like funny because I'm thinking of an X-Men First Class when Xavier and Magneto approach Wolverine in the bar.
Excuse me, I'm Eric Lensher. Sounds like Xavier. Go f*** yourself.
It's
That's
like
the
that one
one word.
F-bomb in that movie, and it's like played to like great effect because it's like, yeah, that character would do that, and which is like the Rios character in this world. And it's very weird. that-
You continue to tie him to Wolverine.
yeah.
What is He's just gonna walk around in wife beater all the time. And
Maybe he has another hologram. That's like the emergency Wolverine hologram.
It's like the security one. Whenever we'll see it happen.
Well, yeah, we've seen some of that in this episode too. Is very different personalities every hologram has. I'm guessing he's just spent a lot of time alone on this ship.
Yeah.
He's
got the Hispanic Jason Momoa program built in.
And the hospitality one said that I came with the base package.
Yeah.
So did they scan the buyer of the ship?
We don't know yet.
Do you get to pick, like, was there some programmer that's this like angry Hispanic guy and that's why he's angry and speaks Hispanic? And do you get to pick? And if you're gonna do that, wouldn't you pick somebody else?
I'd choose like a whole variety of different like avatars to be like, all right, if I'm gonna be around all these people, I don't want to look at myself all day.
No, certainly not. That would be the absolute last thing I would want, is a bunch of me.
Has anybody directly interacted with Rios yet? Has anybody touched him? Maybe he's not real either. Maybe he's a hologram too.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, the only one who has is another hologram fixing his wound.
We got to keep track of our sub theories. Because Commander O being blind, which she wasn't in this, so we've maybe no progress on that front.
Idea. Right? Yeah.
Everyone being Romulan, I think,
still holds water.
Yeah.
I mean, we met a lot more Romulans.
We haven't yeah, there's more Romulans. The Dr. Girardi being...
She's got to be a mole.
Yeah. I was about to say replicant when I mean...
a replicant. Or, either a mole or an android,
Rios
or both.
is a hologram.
Yeah.
Has he been off the ship?
No.
We haven't seen him off the ship.
Right. So I'm just saying.
What if he is...
Like, the ship is him.
He is the ship.
And just different decks or roles represent different parts of his personality.
What did Rafi say in the last one? Did she say, I have a ship and a pilot for you? Or did she just say, I have a ship for you?
I don't know. That's a good twist.
Maybe she literally meant, I just have a ship for you.
I have a pilot for you. His name is Rios. And he'll be in touch.
I mean...
So yeah, she does say that pilot.
She doesn't say anything about a ship, though.
Yeah. It's one and the same, maybe.
Anyway, any other theories we should chase down real quick while we're sidetracked?
I don't have any others.
No.
Not yet.
But yeah, we're like still there. Because after he says that, they have this thing where like they only have 2 locations they can cut to. They can cut to the artifact, or they can cut to like the main crew on La Serena now. So what they do is they cut to an outside shot of the ship flying through space, and then they go back inside.
It was almost like they went to commercial,
but
then came back, but there's no commercials.
No, exactly. And this show has actual commercial breaks. If you depending
I have the premium, so was there not a commercial there?
No, there wasn't. And I have the premium as well, where we don't have commercials, but you can tell when there's a commercial break. It
dip to black.
Yes. Yeah. But this does not do that. This cuts to outside and then back inside.
And here we are again. Yeah, the continuing thing,
just in the middle of the scene. It was very weird.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I've been watching Voyager. I've been watching Next Gen. Just as refreshers, and they don't struggle with this nearly as much as this show does, of like moving the story along, characters moving from place to place, and it doesn't feel awkward. And in this show, every move feels awkward. They exposit here, and then they cut back, and then now we're back in another place.
Something to cut to,
right?
And then...
Whereas a lot of times in these other shows, they would just use exposition while they were moving through the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they arrive, they would arrive somewhere when the next scene was ready to happen, when the next big chunk was ready to be revealed. And that felt so much more productive rather than just like jerky, weird elements.
We can't move. We have to stay in this location.
Which brings me back to Patrick Stewart is just too old to be doing this. He's got, right? I mean, everybody else should be able to walk fine. The poor man can't keep this up.
You
Maybe
think
that's
why
why
they're doing it.
Yeah, maybe that's why. But they didn't even make the cut naturally. They just continued the conversation from basically where it was. They were just in different spots.
Yeah.
Like she was then sitting down, and he was behind his desk. They just like, stop! Don't say anything else. Sit down. I need to move over here. It was weird.
It's weird. I don't know. I don't know why they're doing it. I don't know who's advising them to keep doing this. I don't know who watched this on like the cutting room floor and went, yeah, no, this seems like
That flows well.
yeah.
Or read the script and was like,
Yeah.
I want to know how this like plays on when you're reading it. You know?
Yeah. Is this just pages of exposition I mean, it's got to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But you're right. Now, I didn't think about it. We now have the majority of the cast that we know of in 2 locations. So it's only going to get worse because there's not really anywhere else to go right now.
Well, once we get to Free Cloud.
Maybe. That'll take 4 more episodes, though.
Episode 8, they get to Free Cloud.
Yeah. It's interesting. They're just making weird choices for a show that I'm really like on board with, and I like the ideas that they're running with. The editing has been a big stumbling block,
Mm-hmm.
and we've really not said anything about the score so far. Because like the opening theme, I actually like really well, but otherwise, the score to it is pretty forgettable. Like,
I was gonna say
can't
I
take
don't
note of
notice it until they like make reference to the Jerry Goldsmith theme, and I'm like, oh, they're hinting at it, and then once it's gone, I'm like,
all right, back to the background
Yeah.
with you.
I couldn't have even told you that there was music in the show
Yeah.
until you just said that. I was like, oh yeah, there probably is music in the show. And even the intro, I don't like that they've gone to like the full minute long. I skipped through because they don't show anything. It's just
this visual, yeah,
it's
kind
weird.
of.
Like I watched it the first time, but after that I was like, okay. It's not like they change it. Like Better Call Saul, they change it
That's
every
true,
time.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just the same. No. I
well,
don't-
and that's like so quick. The Better Call Saul one is that there's no point in skipping that to a degree.
right. But even if you're like they change it,
Or like Game
there's-
of Thrones, where it's like, oh, these are the locations we're going to.
and it's at least epic enough that it's
Mhm.
fun to watch. So
Yeah.
no,
For the most part, Star Trek has always had very long intros with
Showing you the cast members.
right, and usually doesn't reveal a whole lot about what's going to happen.
yeah.
But yeah, what was our next scene?
I mean, we're still in it.
Ooh.
Exactly. Because so they're sitting down, they're talking about how foolish it is to go to Vashti. Dr. Girardi shows up and she's confused. She asks like what all this means.
Okay, well now somebody has to tell me what we're talking about.
JL wants to hire an assassin.
They are not assassins, and you can't hire them.
The Kawat Malat have to choose you.
Romulan warrior nuns.
That's a real thing? How bizarre.
Knew some Kawat Milat.
On Vashti alone, they helped Raffi and me relocate more than 250,000 refugees.
And they are the most skilled single combat fighters that I have ever seen, and the most feared enemies of the Tal Shiar.
Maybe Girardi is there to be a representative of the audience.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So when they're
Oh yeah,
like it feels like she is me, and you guys are talking about all these complicated and like long running Star Trek. You're like, oh yes, this person. Girardi's like, who is that? And so she asks these questions for me so that they can be mansplained and get me caught up as to where we are in the world of Star Trek.
that's fair. I mean,
But
yeah,
yeah.
she's by far the least experienced. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So an interesting thing that happened, I thought that was amusing in this scene is Raffi tells Picard, I'm going to be straight with you.
I'm going to be straight with you.
Oh, well, that will make a refreshing change.
I like that.
Things not to say to your wife during an argument.
Or to your first officer, or the woman that you got her fired from her job.
I don't think she did something. Wasn't all on him.
Clearly some tension still laying there. I do like how older Picard just has no time for a lot of people's BS.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, no, look, I gotta get off this planet. You need to either give me a ship or, find another way. His approach with Raffi entirely so far has just been like, he shows up on her front door with wine, and she's like, nah, get out of here. And he's like, yeah, no, I know you. And then later she's researching, and he's like, hey, are you researching? She's like, of course I'm not. And he's like, well, here's some more for you in case.
Carry on.
Yeah.
I feel like the show could be called Star Trek Picard Sheer Effing Hubris. Because that's how he acts all the time.
Yeah.
In every situation, like every episode, there's more, like there's this where he's just sort of like, no, we're doing this. And then later when he gets there, they're talking about the shield, and we'll get there, but he's like, tell them it's me. They will certainly.
Right.
Like, no, we did that.
Right.
And then later on. So that's sort of just how he is.
Mm-hmm. I'm hoping what we're going to see is just kind of Picard getting knocked down a couple pegs. My hope is that it's not, well, it's Star Trek Picard. Picard's the titular character, so and he's this legend of a Starfleet captain. He has to be right about everything. He has to be the coolest, most awesome. I'm hoping it's not that. And even this episode, as it moves on, seems to be showing like, hey, like, yeah, you're not what you think you are. You've kind of the world doesn't, or the universe doesn't remember you the way that maybe you want to be remembered. And I think that's what they're going to explore. At least I hope so. Because you're right. He's walked into so many situations so far, just being like, "Bum ba dum ba dum, I'm Captain Picard," and it's.
He walks around with this image of him, which is like what the audience watching the show familiar with TNG feels about him.
Yes.
But then the world of the show is like, that is not the case.
Right.
And so it's like a reminder to us as well as to him about, oh, this is not how it is.
Right. And so I want to know when he starts to learn that lesson, because I feel like the audience has already gotten to see that. When does his character start resembling that change? But I don't know. It didn't really. It happened a little bit in this episode, but not a huge amount, because he immediately. We'll get to it, but like, yeah, they arrive at the planet, and he's like, "Well, tell him it's me," and that doesn't hold any weight with anybody anymore. But then in a couple scenes, we'll get to a part where he does basically the same thing again.
Oh yeah, he's doing it throughout the episode.
Yeah,
but yeah, we can cut to aboard the artifact. It's a real quick scene where Soji is studying holovids of Dr. Ramda, and which she talks about Ganmadan, which is the day of annihilation of all life everywhere, when the demons answer the call of the destroyer. And then intense music plays and the scene ends.
Zooming in on her face.
Yeah.
Strangely. That was.
They had to insert that so they get back aboard La Serena, because that's where we're going next.
At least there was something to do off the ship for a second.
Our other character.
Yeah.
In the show, the other one.
There's been did Data only showed up in the first episode, didn't he? We've not seen him since then, have we?
No.
Oh man.
Was he not in the second?
No.
No, it was just the first episode.
Guy with that hook.
Yeah.
But then, back aboard the...
Well, they had to take him apart to get him in the drawer for the end of the episode. That's what they left him there. They forgot.
Had to come apart.
They forgot he's still there.
Yeah, so we're back aboard the...
Well, do we get anything from that little scene?
No, nothing.
Just reiterated what...
It's literally reiterating that she's the destroyer.
Man, they just sprinkle it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nothing new for us. It's just more of her
checking in on what
yeah,
she's up
kind
to.
of like suspecting, like what's all this about? What are they?
Yeah.
Why?
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think so, but I wasn't sure if there was something that.
No.
Okay.
So then back aboard the ship, Picard is looking out at Vashti and asks about the security, and Ralphie gives a complex answer to explain that they need special clearance, and that's when he suggests that they just tell them it's me. And she said they were not impressed, and he gives this very interesting, like, oh, look. Rios then suggests a cash gift. And then after that, we just cut to Picard beaming down, which apparently that worked.
That's what they do.
Yeah, it did it. And then he awkwardly tries to make some friends, but none of the Romulans are having it. They've even put up a sign outside a bar in English that says Romulans only.
Yeah. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but like more or less, money has gone away.
Yeah.
As
soon as he said that, I was like, what?
There's an episode of The Next Generation, I think it's season 2, where they come across this like pod of people who were frozen 100 or 200 years ago and sent out into space, right, to eventually will thaw them and cure them of their disease or whatever.
Yeah, Passengers with Chris Pratt and
Yeah,
Jennifer
basically
Lawrence.
that, yeah. But yeah, they basically, and so they thaw these people, and they're like, they've fallen out of time, and one of the guys is like extremely wealthy, I'm a big businessman, and all he's talking about is like, well, I've got to check on my holdings and I've got to go talk to the bank.
I must contact my lawyer.
Your lawyer has been dead for centuries.
Yes, of course I know that. But he was a full partner in a very important firm. Rest assured, that firm is still operating.
That's what all this is about. A lot has changed in the past 300 years. People are no longer obsessed with the accumulation of things. We have eliminated hunger, want, the need for possessions. We've grown out of our infancy.
And the whole point of that character was to be like, yeah, we don't need that anymore. Humanity doesn't use money anymore. We don't. And like, I feel like that's reiterated several times throughout Next Generation, at least, and other iterations.
It is, yeah.
Is that true in the Romulan
But
culture?
that's the thing, is within the Federation, yeah. But when they first come across the Ferengi are like all about like sell us stuff and trade things, and why are your communicators made of gold? We want that. So I guess it could be,
Maybe that's why it was so fast, because the Romulans were like, we want $14 quadrillion, and to Picard it's just like, it's just digits, and so he has an unlimited number of them.
Give him some Monopoly money.
Maybe, I don't know, but like, you live in a world where replicators exist. What is the use of money, really? Like, what is the... I don't know. Like, we don't know that Romulans don't have money, but it seems weird to me that Picard has Romulan money to use as a bribe when he wasn't anticipating using Romulan money at all. I don't know. It stuck out to me just as like part of the lore of Star Trek is that there's not really money.
I don't think that there's an answer. I think that they needed to set up the space battle later, and they just needed to set up how formidable it was, but then also just circumvent it entirely in the narrative.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We could sit here and talk about it, but I don't think that there's a deep answer.
We're not going to break it
to like the like a deep dive into the history of the Romulan culture as it relates to the Federation.
No, it's not that so much as
currency exchange and what's the going. Like, I think it's
it's weird for them for it to be pretty well established that currency is not a thing. To them go, maybe some cash money. I don't know. It just seems like the writers, because like the Federation is very different in this iteration than it's been portrayed in any other iteration, and Picard feels a little different than he's felt in other iterations, and there's just little in-world things that are a little bit different, and I'm trying to chop it up to, there's the benefit of the doubt of like, maybe we just don't know about Romulan stuff. But there's also a side that's got me questioning, like, how much research did they do going into this? How much do they appreciate the Star Trek world?
Yeah, because there's another thing in the previous episode when Raffi is talking to Picard, and she's like holding a lot of resentment towards him. She talks about watching that holovid interview with him, and she's like, just saw you and your big mansion with all the old oak and how nice it was, and she's like, here I am in my hovel, which is like an embarrassment. And it's like, so there's class, and there's seems to be like she's, closer to poverty than he is, and how every time it's brought up, it makes me question that kind of a thing where I'm like, so how does that work?
Yeah, and it really, I mean, on one hand, it does feel a lot like splitting hairs, but on another hand, one of the things that's really just special about the Next Generation is it makes you believe that humanity has actually come together in a meaningful way. That I saw somebody even point this out just recently, of like Next Generation specifically, that cast and the way they were written, they always feel like they were on each other's side. Even if one of the characters doubted what was happening and another character said, no, this is definitely a concern, the character that doubted would still go along with it as if it was a real concern, because they genuinely like seemed to care for each other, and it made you feel like, oh wow, humanity's actually like come together and overcome all of our.
The Romulans are outside of that.
Yeah,
aren't they?
Right.
That's interesting though, because like there's never any drama within that series of like the crew. Like they're ever like working against each other, or there being like secrets. If there is, it's because Picard is not himself. We suspect that like there's some outside force at play here. Not like there's never anything done in which
they're never trying to subvert each other.
Yeah, exactly. Or jump over each other, personal gain. None of that.
Which takes away a level of. It's harder to write. Disagreements between crew members and whatnot. I get that, but at the same time, I felt like it made the cast stronger as a whole, because they all felt like they were part of the same team. So even if I didn't like Geordi as much as I liked Deanna Troi, I still felt like they were all kind of this one unit. I don't know. It's something interesting, and as we've kind of had this infighting between Raffi and Picard, it makes me go, oh man, like,
yeah, because she immediately like shows up like, what's this old man doing? He's crazy. Like, we need to like convince him like this is a bad idea. And
the world has changed,
right? But we haven't been given an explanation to the world changing, and I doubt we will. We're not going to jump into we're not going to left turn into the politics of the Federation from here, I don't think.
It would make sense for them to stop off for a couple episodes and go into something that doesn't progress the storyline whatsoever, though. That would.
Well, you guys have really gotten a whole lot of this plot, getting the team together, and so we're going to take this left turn.
Now that we've actually started the show,
yeah,
let's give some background.
I don't know, but do you understand where we're coming from with in terms of like the universe has clearly changed, but we're not really been given any sort of explanation to how or why.
Sure.
And so there are things that are popping up that seem like they're coming out of left field for what I know about the Star Trek universe. That I don't know. It's not a big deal either way. It would be nice to have some resolutions to.
Maybe they need the money to buy more flavors for their milkshake replicator on the black market.
Maybe. Mm-hmm. That's a clear case of class warfare.
They only have vanilla, and they need
just one kind.
I feel like milkshake wars of Stardate 2324.
Yeah. If they wanted to do this, I feel like they could have pretty easily done it in just a couple quick like background scenes of saying like, there's new leadership in the Federation, or there's a new president of the whole world, or something that embodies kind of the change in
but
moral
as somebody
or-
who knows nothing about Star Trek, that would have raised a ton of more questions. As it is, the show is very approachable for someone that doesn't know anything. Like, they explain everything. I didn't know who Data was, and I know who Data was. I didn't know. I guess there's really not been anybody else. I guess 7 of 9 is a person, but I'm sure that she's a Borg or whatever she looks like. I don't know what she is, but I'm sure that they're going to tell me. But like, if you would go into that, wouldn't that open up a whole world of?
Could be.
They would have to explain a ton to explain that, I guess.
Right, and that's the challenge that you have taking on something as deep as Star Trek, trying to make it accessible but also exciting. And like keep the old fans happy and the new fans.
Right. Yeah.
So I think they've just made some concessions to make it accessible.
Well, it is very approachable.
That's
I
great.
haven't
That's
had
good.
any difficulty understanding what's going on while I'm watching it.
That's good, especially since they explain it so often.
Well, sometimes when you guys talk about it, I'm like, I have no idea. Did I even see the episode? I'm not sure that I watched the right thing. But
I will say, I feel like you're probably getting a great experience out of it. Like it's whatever we're bringing to the table is wholly unnecessary. Like they've done a good job of making it exciting, and each character that they bring in, they explain enough to get you invested.
Right.
Yeah, you're like somebody who like not watched any Star Wars, but you're like really into the Mandalorian, and then we're over here like, what about all this other stuff? And like, why?
Yeah.
How did the Darksaber get there?
Yeah.
Like,
What is Gustavo Fring doing in a TIE fighter?
Yeah. So I'm really glad that you're enjoying Picard. I'm just disappointed that
you wish I would enjoy it less, so that you could enjoy it more.
Man, it's like you're building sandcastles as a kid, and then the new kid comes along and he wants to play with his toys, and now you got to take your sandcastle down so that everybody can share. You know,
I only ever just dug a huge hole just on the edge of the water that would fill up with. That's all I ever did.
So in place of the sandcastle that was next gen, we have this huge hole now.
Everybody understands. No, it's not huge things. Like I said, it's splitting hairs. But it's just differences that I've noticed.
Yeah, it feels like in order for it to fit into modern televised storytelling, they had to take it in this kind of a tone. It's weird because Star Trek has always ever been, like you said, for the betterment of humanity, and the central theme throughout has always been hope. And I think they're getting there, hopefully, with this. You know, hopefully by the end of the season we'll see that. But episode by episode, you don't get that tone. It's I don't know, different values, like on television. I don't know.
Yeah. So he makes it onto Vashti.
Yeah.
That was a long conversation about that one quick cut.
About bribes.
Yeah, and then he goes to the elven city of Rivendell and meets Zanny, a member of the Kawat Milat. And he says that he does not have the right, but he needs their help one last time. And then an adult Elnor just shows up and dramatically brings the scene to an end.
Just throws a sack of potatoes on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Which we don't really get a resolution then to that conversation.
No, he just...
Not really.
No.
I need your help.
He instantly recognizes Picard, but does Picard necessarily know, like, oh, that's that little boy?
I feel like he understands enough about their culture that they're like these ninja nuns, that if there's a young man there, it has to be the same young man that... I don't know.
He knows that that man is the whole point of this entire episode. So he doesn't have a reason to think it's somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
He's like,
That's
well,
true.
this kid was in the flashback, and I need him to join my team, so it's got to be the same guy.
Yeah. We've also never seen any Romulan ever dressed like this.
No, this whole way that like all the nuns are dressed and the way he is dressed, I remember seeing images of this character.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh, what's all this about? And you know, they are establishing that in this like subculture of Romulans, but it's very interesting because it does bring this more fantasy element to it that is not there before. And
Rather overtly.
yeah.
Well, he's even dressed way differently than the rest of them are.
Right. He's
Yeah,
in like
'cause he's a
very
guy.
dark clothes though too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just.
But you would think that
it's
there would
interesting.
at least be a similar style. I mean, you could have like the male and the female version of the clothes, but it's like totally different. Maybe he's in his like warrior garb, and that's how the rest of them, and they're older, and so they're not. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I bet we'll crack this one though. We'll figure it out.
You think they're going to do a deep
We'll get
dive
to
into
the
the
root of-
wardrobe of
Right.
Elnor and his friends?
Next episode, Picard's like, "Why did you wear dark clothes when everyone else wears?" No. He stands out immediately. He's like, "Oh," you look at him and you're like, "He's cool. That's a cool dude." He's got a sword. Swords have never been super big in Star Trek either. The Batleths, the Klingon weapons,
Yeah.
and Sulu had a sword,
Oh yeah.
but
In the Naked Mind?
The
Or- no,
Naked Now.
The Naked Now. Yeah. He does have a sword.
No, the Naked Time.
No, it's the Naked Now, I think.
It is the Naked Now?
Yeah,
I
it's not the
think-
Naked Time. I'm pretty sure it's the Naked Now.
he's got a sword.
No, the Naked Now is the Next Gen episode.
Then it's the Naked Mind.
Really?
Anyway, yeah, swords are not a particularly common thing.
No.
A lot of knives and daggers and things, but swords are weird. So this is being his like primary weapon.
Well, it seems like because the other Romulans have a too. He has an encounter later. Picard does.
Gotcha.
With the
Yeah.
Romulans, that's their. It seems like their weapon of choice.
It is the Naked Time, by the way.
Is it?
Oh.
No.
This is why Kaylee's better than Tom.
She didn't know the name of the episode either. I promise you that.
She was shouting at the radio the whole time. No. I don't know. Like, this is a really cool sequence, and this is a cool place to be. It's just very different from a lot of what we've ever seen in
Yeah,
Star Trek
it's like
before.
something they could have created an entirely new race.
Yeah.
But instead they're like, let's just do this.
Patrick Stewart's
Do you know
like,
why?
No.
Because everybody in the show is Romulan.
They're just running out of things to do with Romulans.
They're all Romulans. Now they're elven Romulans.
We've got Cottage on the Chateau Picard Romulans. We've got Secret Vulcan Romulans.
And Space Romulans. We have anti-secret police Romulans.
Now we got Fantasy Romulans. It's the whole grab bag.
Wow.
This is... So I'm getting very... I'm getting... what was it? Thor: The Dark World.
Mm-hmm.
A movie that like crossed all kinds of different genres altogether. Like some of it was fantasy, some of it was sci-fi, some of it was just like Earth action film. I'm getting those kind of vibes from Picard so far. Of like they're balancing a whole lot of different things, and they have the budget to do it. Like this looked good. It just I don't know where they're going with this. This dude's gonna run around with a sword the rest of the time.
Yes.
I guess so.
Pretty much.
If we don't get an episode where he has like some sort of astronaut suit, you know, he's got a zero grav suit on, and he's like jumping at ships, stabbing them with his sword. Man, I'm gonna be a little disappointed.
Yeah, well, it reminded me in the the 09 Star Trek.
Yes.
Where Sulu, he's in the spacesuit and he's got the sword that comes out, and it comes out.
Yeah, that's a cool sword. This is not that sword,
No,
though.
it's not. But
But yeah. What else happens in this scene? He's just mad
That's
at
just
Picard,
it, yeah.
basically, yeah.
And then we go to the artifact again, where we actually get a full scene on the artifact, where Narek watches Soji as she monitors Ramda, and Soji is tormented by the encounter that she had with her. Narek comforts her, and then the two of them share a drink of Romulan ale. And then Soji begins to ask questions about Narek because she suspects he may be Tal Shiar. But then she seems to be pretty unfazed by the fact that he
Point
may or may
blank
not be, because
asks him.
Yeah. And then he's like, no. She's like, well, would you tell me that same thing if you were? He's like, yeah. And she's like, all right. And then
That checks out.
Then he tells her he wants to show her an ancient Borg ritual. And then we see the silliest thing that this show has done yet, in which we see a montage of Narek and Soji sliding around the Borg hallways in their socks.
Which, you can ask my wife. I love montages. I don't know why, but like I think it started with I watched Rocky.
I was about to say Rocky's
as a kid, and that's like the quintessential montage.
Even Rocky had a montage.
Every Rocky movie has a great. Like, you're like, yeah, stuff's happening. And it's what they use in shows and movies to like quickly accelerate the plot. Things are see that he's fat at the start of the montage, and now he's thin, or like this is just like a crappy montage to nowhere.
Yeah, this show could have really used like of all the montages we could have had a montage of them like on board like the ship, not these characters, but like on La Serena. The weeks or however long it took them to get to Vashti, in which
Girardi
got bored,
watching all of the Klingon opera, or a montage of Elnor, our new main character with the party.
Up,
Are we just gonna call him Elf?
Training.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they could have had him training, but no, we waste the montage on.
I mean, the thing that took me out of this moment was not that it was a montage. It was that once again, like, was she must have a malfunction or something. If she's really this android thing, like, the dude refuses outright to answer anything. He just
distracts every time.
He constantly distracts her.
Yeah, with
next episode, he's gonna just hold up a watch. Here you go.
Every time
like
they're upset about something, you're just like, look at this over here. Like, oh yeah,
yes. And once again, he still continues to be one of the most interesting characters on screen because of this, because he can get away with anything. And then they go just slip sliding across the floor. For some reason, did he just come up with this on the spot? He's like, crap.
He's had it in his back pocket.
Yeah, he's got this lexicon of just different distraction tactics. Oh my gosh.
Next, he's going to be like, do you want to see another ancient ritual? And he's just going to take her to blow bubbles in their milk. That's going to be the next one.
Now eat all your cereal. Now blow bubbles. Borg ritual.
At least it ended.
So not only does he like dodge questions and answer in lies or half truths, then he outright lies to her about it being a Borg ritual, and she's just like,
Do you think she left thinking like, wow, that was a weird ritual? I can't believe they actually did that.
I'm gonna have to type up a paper on this.
I have to do some research. At least their encounter ended contentiously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because he calls her out on the fact that she was not on the ship that she claimed to be on,
which is like, weird to start there.
Yeah,
that's
is this
strange.
his way of like trying to unlock her?
He's planting a seed.
Yeah.
What
space seed?
What seed? Or I'm not sure what seed was planted, other than he's a jerk.
I mean, yeah.
Whatever the other method is, they should just go to that, because this isn't going to work.
I think we're going to see it.
It's not going to.
Put a bag over her head. That's apparently what unlocks people.
Mm-hmm. But then she'll kill everybody.
Right. Like if he's trying to unlock her, then what's the to what point and purpose? If she either just goes psycho and kills everybody, or we really don't understand what unlocking
we don't know what
does.
Activating.
Because for Dahj, it didn't really mean anything. Like, she was unlocked, but that just meant she killed everybody in the room.
She was like Jason Bourne
at
the start of the first movie.
Jason
like,
Bourne that keeps forgetting
she's
who
the
he is.
super killer, but just didn't know why.
His approach, this approach is specifically like she has to come to the conclusion herself. I don't know.
But then, if you would think that if she did realize that she was one of those, that she would definitely not want to disclose it to him.
Yeah.
Because she already knows enough to ask him if he is part of them, and if she really knew what was going on, to be like, I definitely don't want to talk to this guy anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. For
She
how many-
also like asks at one point, because she's suspicious of him, she goes, "Have you been watching me?" And he responds, "Not in the way that you mean it." And she just, she's like, "All right." I'm like, "What would you do if somebody said that to you?" Like,
what's the other way?
What do you think I'm? What in the way you think I mean it? And what's the other one?
It's like when you were 14 and you had that crush on the girl in church, and they'd walk in and you just like, aww. It's basically like last week, she asked him a question, or "Do you believe me?" And he's like, "I believe that I'm falling in love with you." That was just another version of that.
Right.
"Have you been watching
Exactly.
me?" "Not how you think." And she's like, "Oh, cool."
Well, he passed
So
that
how
test.
have you been watching me?
Romantically.
I don't know.
Like a stalker, you know.
This is bizarre.
That's the way I thought she would have assumed. That's like
I thought she assumed like spying on in an official capacity.
Which is absolutely what he's doing.
Which way's creepier?
So either he's lying.
So it's only creepy if there's not mutual attraction. But the fact that, like, if you're going to sit there and, like, stare at a woman you don't know in Starbucks, that's weird. But if it's your wife, it's still weird, but she'll be like, "Oh, well, he's harmless," and it's cute. So I think that's what, like, it's, like, cute that he's watching
know that
her.
I
because
appreciate you normalizing stalking.
I'm not. I'm just saying that clearly they're in a relationship.
I think if I hired a PI to follow my wife around, she'd probably be just as offended as if I didn't.
What if you followed?
And what if she asked, like,
yourself?
"Have you been watching me?" And you said,
Well, I mean,
"Not the
I
way you-"
haven't.
Yeah.
Not in the way you think.
And she would be totally fine with, "Oh, he hasn't. Okay, must be someone else."
Great.
It's bizarre. This is another bizarre little scene. I don't know. I don't understand. How is she not, like... I don't know.
She needs to find out more about the
At
ancient
least
Borg
he's
rituals.
cute. I mean,
he
he's
is
gotta
really
be
good looking
really
for a
cute.
Romulan.
I mean, just wait till she meets Elnor. I mean...
No, Narek's got him beat by a mile.
my.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
definitely.
I did not expect this scene when I was preparing for
Nobody did.
Star Trek Picard.
No.
Well, it's there.
Next Generation has episodes where Data is reciting poetry
About his cat.
Right. And that's not as out of nowhere as this scene is. All right, so they have their little argument.
It happened. We all watched it.
And we still didn't really learn. Really, the only thing we learned out of that whole exchange was that she apparently is aware that she wasn't on the log of that ship. And we don't even know that for sure, because she really just kind of
She seems to believe it. It's one of her implanted memories.
Yeah.
We assume.
Wow. But,
Think,
we,
yeah.
And it seems like their relationship changed from, like, they were just kissing to now it's like, you have information that I want. Now it's a business relationship.
Yeah, there's
now.
It's transactional.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then aboard La Serena, Raffi gets notifications that Picard's blowing up. He's got a lot of buzz on Vashti.
The Romulan Facebook.
She's monitoring social media.
Picard is trending on Vashti.
Well, at least it happened on Vashti. I don't know that it's trending anywhere else. I don't know that
I don't
real
think
world
so.
Twitter's got Picard trending yet.
I don't think so.
You just wait.
Ooh.
And then they reach out to him in an attempt to get him off planet as the warlord Candor shows up in a commandeered bird of prey.
Is this a new guy?
Yes.
He's a new guy.
And then Picard says, "Don't worry about it. I need more time."
You do what you have to do.
He's like, and then back on planet, he's not in a hurry at all.
It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, the hubris on this dude.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, by the way, we're taking this detour to this planet we never talked about going to. Now we're there. You're being fired upon.
I'm going to place you directly in the line of duty.
Rios tells him it's a sketchy neighborhood.
Yeah.
There's this guy who's real dangerous who could show up. She does.
It does not matter.
Yeah, you've got this.
It's fine. You do what you need to do.
Could you imagine, like, having to run an errand in a sketchy part of town, and the local gang leader shows up, and, like, your friend calling you on the car, he's like, hey, look, we got to go, man. It's like, nah, I really need to finish this transaction. You do what you need to do, and then still be around to pick me up when I need it, okay? That's just... it's bizarre. You put
Distract him for a while.
Yeah, I don't know. That's he's bold. That Picard, he's got some. He believes in his crew, I guess. And then
sheer effing hubris.
Yeah. Which then we move down to the planet, right?
Yeah.
And he's talking to Elnor
again. Still.
And Elnor's
well, he's talking to Zanny at first,
okay.
and he's talking about how that, she talks about how Elnor was abandoned and raised by them, and then Picard says that he plans to take on the Tal Shiar alone, and then Zanny believes that Picard should take Elnor with him, and then he starts talking to Elnor.
Well, isn't that the reason that he went there?
I don't think he went there specifically for him.
He just went to apologize.
I think...
Because he's like, I still need more time. Couldn't have you just, like, apologized and then split?
I really don't know. The Elnor showing up, I think, was a surprise to him.
Yeah.
His original plan going there was to enlist the help of the Koalt Milat.
One of them.
One of them. He wasn't, expecting, because I think he even says, like, I thought maybe, like, I didn't think he'd still be here.
Oh, he does say that.
Well, he shouldn't have been there. Culturally, like, he should have been adopted or sent away, but Zanny the nanny decided to hang on to him and train him and then deny him the right of Jedi Master. I'm sorry, did I cross over into another franchise again?
Is Picard Palpatine?
Picardatine.
I mean, he's acting a little bit like an emperor.
Yeah. Something to keep our eye on.
Yeah. And then they have then Picard talks to Elnor.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. He was not in any sort of urgency, like, at all. He gets news that their ship is in danger, and he's like, nah, I'm sure you've got this.
I'm just going to act as if nothing is going on.
Having casual conversations, personal, rehashing personal wounds from years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Elnor, like, he asks what it requires for Elnor's blade to be bonded to his cause, and Elnor's like, you just have to tell me a sad story. So then Picard recaps the previous 3 episodes for him.
I did like how that started. He's like, well, tell me your story. He's like, I had a friend. It's usually a sad story. He died. I like that.
Good.
That was funny. He's like, oh, yes.
Elnor's feeding off of his tears.
Yeah, and then after he pleads his case, Elnor refuses, and he leaves, and he gives him the same, like, he steals Rafi's lines from the previous episode and storms off. He's like, you abandoned me. You only came here when you want something from me. Like,
rightly so.
Yeah.
100%. Everybody that interacts with Picard that has a problem with him, I agree with every time. Like the lady, I forget her name, the Starfleet representative that yelled at him.
I mean,
and then Rafi, and then him, and then the Romulans in the next scene. Like all of them are like, I'm like, yeah.
They're calling it like
They should-
even his old doctor buddy who he leaned on to be like, yeah, give me a clean bill of health. Like everybody's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just
Sheer
interesting.
hubris.
Yeah.
So then he pouts his way down the hill, down the tree or whatever.
He does. He doesn't even like, because then you'd think like, all right, now it's time for us to get out of here. No,
Right.
I'm gonna go get a drink.
Well, they tell him.
I really wanna do-
He calms up and it says, "I'm ready to go." And they said, "Okay, we got a window in 7 minutes."
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "Great, I am going to put my life in immediate danger in those 7 minutes."
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some more hubris for you.
Yeah, this is like not even a hubris; it's just
Death wish.
insensitive and rude.
He tried to Rosa Parks that
Yeah.
little cafe.
Yeah, like shouldn't this guy who has been whining about what happened to the Romulans and been playing victim about how he was treated as far as not being able to, he does not understand their plight or have any empathy for their situation whatsoever.
Right.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Like he's just the guy that lost his job and went back to. These are the people that have been stuck in this apparent like destitute. Doesn't seem to be a lot going on there. And he's just like, you guys should appreciate me. I don't understand what your problem is. Why are you so sad? And there's a tear down their sign.
The sign.
Who is this guy?
That it says Romulans only on this planet full of Romulans, and it's in English, so it's
Specifically for him.
I was going to say it's clearly just meant for him because like
Specifically for
it
him.
has to be a human who speaks English. We only have one that
They
we
only
don't
know one
want
of
in
them.
here.
Yeah.
We should have had a
And this
scene
guy-
right at the beginning when he first comes down of like the bartender like, oh crap, and
Should have been
right
like
up
a-
the side
yeah.
real quick and hang it.
Like a picture of like
No, it's-
a bald silhouette with a line through it, like no Picard.
But it's old.
It's been there for a
It's
while.
been there a long time.
They've
and he
been
doesn't,
waiting for him to come back.
he
They
doesn't
knew.
just take it off. He steps on
Yeah,
it.
he does.
Steps on it on his way over.
Absolutely bizarre. Like, so these kind of moments are not super consistent with Picard.
If he were to ever do
Like-
anything like that in Next Gen, it's a calculated move that he's making.
Yeah.
Which I guess this could be. I don't.
What? No.
It doesn't seem
Is
particularly
his
like
goal
it.
to die? Because
Or to-
without Elnor, who he doesn't know is showing up.
I heard somebody theorize that he did this in an attempt, like the whole Eleanor rescuing
To
him was
goad
kind of
Eleanor,
yeah. That it
Which-
was calculated, which it could be, but I don't know. You can read it either way. It's not
Right.
clear.
He's just a salty old man at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Yeah, but just the fact that like
Do you think it's his parietal lobe?
Oh, it could be.
it could be. I'm waiting. I mean, that's going to be the MacGuffin of any plot holes they have. Is like, well, he was irate in that scene because of the tumor.
His parietal lobe?
But like,
It's not a tumor.
Picard is not.
It's an irregularity.
He's not a fool, and he's never really been shown. He keeps an amount of distance from like his officers and stuff, just because he holds himself to a very high standard.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't like to get emotionally involved.
Right, and it has nothing to do with whether he cares or not, and it doesn't really have anything to do whether he's invested in them or not. And so what we're seeing a lot of times here is like Raffi, he just doesn't seem invested in. Elnor, he just doesn't seem invested in. The whole Romulan plight, he's surprised by, which seems weird to me. It's not like he was forced to stay home, so it's not like he couldn't have ever gone to visit Elnor before. So I guess what they're trying to say is like he's fallen into depression, and this is him dusting himself off and getting back up again. But it doesn't. I don't know. We're not seeing enough of like this is what he's been for the last 10 years, and now he's snapping out of it. It just seems like he's continued on the way he always has, and now he's disenfranchised with everybody else. And I don't know. I don't know. I like the idea of he's trying to goad Elnor on to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not, as the audience, we're not privy to any of that thought.
No,
And
it's
so-
not like Raffi like talks to him and then he says, "Okay, I'm gonna like try one more thing." Give
Right.
me.
Nope, he's just. I really wanted to play the Arrested Development as he's just moping around.
The sad song.
Yeah,
It's funny that's
Vince
more
Guaraldi.
associated with Arrested Development at this point, not like Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown, right? But everybody knows the exact scene you're talking about. I don't. And then he goes into the Romulan cafe, and I thought this might have been a cameo for Michael Dorn, but no such luck. Oh well. This dude used to be a senator.
Yeah, he was a senator.
That's interesting.
And then he got to hear Picard make a big speech full of promises before he abandoned them all on this planet, which he's not happy about.
And just to show you how out of touch Picard is, while he's clearly given this contentious, like he's confronting Picard, he thanks him. Picard, he said, "Well, there were tears in my eyes," and he says, "Thank you." Clearly, that's not the point of this interaction. Like he's not. Thank you.
It's an interesting scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, part of me with this also felt like your planet did blow up, and he did get you guys off of it. He was the only
you're
one.
here because
yeah, exactly. You guys are all still alive because Picard did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just because you happen to not be in the place where you were promised in the beginning because of stuff that happened out of everyone's control, I don't know. It was. I definitely felt like a little ungrateful.
Yeah, it's hard to try and put that in any sort of parallel of like if there was some sort of massive event that was happening on Earth where we really needed to relocate people from a whole continent.
Yeah, like say about a decade ago when there was like the power plant in Japan that was like going to have the meltdown.
Fukushima.
Yeah, and Fukushima. Like say we had to like evacuate the entire
that's still
country.
poison
Yeah.
in the Pacific Ocean,
Yeah,
by the way.
it would be.
Still
I
happening.
feel like it would be really hard to boil that down to like one person being the charge, leading the charge for that or not for that. Do you know what I mean? Like, if that happened and the Japanese people needed to leave their island, I don't feel like there's one person, the one Picard, that it would all fall on of like, oh, thank you so much, you made this happen.
Well, I don't know. In politics today,
But then again, like the
it's
Romulans were like
politicians.
enemies at the time, so
Right.
this is
Right.
There's no equivalent.
parallel, right.
Yeah.
it's easy. Like if anything happens anywhere, good or bad, both sides are like, oh, Trump did this. Oh, look
Yeah.
what Trump did.
But it comes
look
back
what
to the
Trump
politicians.
achieved. So like,
Yeah.
even though Trump probably didn't even have anything to do with it either way, he's getting.
It was his administration.
Yeah.
But that's my point. Is like, Picard was a captain of a ship or an admiral at the time, but not a political figure. So I don't know.
MacArthur is beloved
MacArthur would
in
be-
the
yeah.
Philippines.
He's about the
Because
only.
he is given credit by them. That's why they love Americans. Is MacArthur? So, I'll be back, or I shall return. I think he.
I'll be back. That was Terminator, but you were close.
Yeah. Same thing. And then he comes back, and he's in a admiral. He's a general, and an admiral is just a general in the Navy.
Yeah, that's true. That's probably the closest kind of real world of like. But we also weren't at war with the Philippines at the time, so I don't know. There's not really going to be a perfect parallel. I'm just trying to think of like, is it even reasonable for him to expect to be known because of this, or is it absurd to
I don't know.
pin it all on him failing?
It seems like, I don't know if he necessarily feels that way, but it feels like in this world, that is what's happened based on that interview that we saw where that's like all they wanted to talk to him about, and this.
Yeah, clearly, right or wrong, he is this universe's face for the Romulan evacuation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is seen as a failure. Anyway, this whole...
Even to the survivors.
Scene yeah. I survived because of you, but not where I wanted to survive. To the point where this guy's willing to kill Picard.
Yeah, he wants to sword fight him.
Yeah. Which, that would have been cool.
It's
Picard
appropriate that they talked about the Three Musketeers.
Yeah, Picard has
in the
been seen
beginning
to fence before this. He knows his way around a sword.
Yeah, he's fencing all the time in Next Gen.
Yeah.
So...
Did it look to you guys when they throw Picard his sword that it was reversed? So he catches it.
Oh.
It looks like it's reversed.
So that he like actually threw it in the shot?
He actually threw it because I don't know that they could trust this frail old man to catch this hefty sword being
Well, it seems
tossed at him.
irresponsible to throw a sword at an old man.
Yeah.
Are you looking up the scene?
Might be.
Okay, I didn't catch that. I'm curious.
I noticed it the first time that I rewatched it today. I was like, it could be wrong. It just looks like he throws it, especially with how he catches it. He catches it like backwards, or upside down rather.
It's like that scene in Jurassic Park where the dinosaur bones fall on Timmy, and it's actually little Joe Mazzello actually was like screaming at the bones being lifted up with the camera so that it was safe.
Oh. Oh, that did look weird. Something about that looks weird.
Yeah,
it's like the acceleration is reversed.
Sort of. Either they like it's CGI and which is kind of choppy, or he just threw the sword.
Maybe there's several cuts there for just somebody throwing a sword.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I don't think Kaylee noticed that either.
We're gonna start keeping score.
We are
every time beforehand.
You guys should take notes while you're watching and then see whose are more extensive.
Yeah. That's not what we're going to do. No. We don't need more things to fight about.
At the end of every episode,
be competitive.
She gets to comment with all of her points that she caught that we didn't catch.
You guys could record another one. Just do it again with her.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have the audience vote on
whose perspective
who's better. And so forever we can have a
record of which podcast aired.
It would not do our relationship any harm whatsoever. It would be fine. There's no reason we should not engage into this ridiculously futile competition.
Perfect. I love it. That's a nice hook for a whole podcast concept.
Listen to the same podcast twice, but one of them is a lot worse. Spoiler, it's the one.
You vote with your listens. No, so there's this little sword fighty fight thing that happens.
Mm-hmm. And Eleanor shows up.
Dude, does he ever?
Yeah.
Suddenly there's an elf there again. And he does a little spin move, and
he that's sort of like the Emperor Palpatine's.
Yeah, it is.
Like a 720 from a prone position that he does.
Yeah.
Just twirls.
It's a cool stunt. I mean, it definitely handles the situation pretty quick, too.
It got the job done.
And you also get, so you probably caught this, Romulans have green blood.
I did.
Just
I
like Vulcans.
Right, they both do. This is another one of those scenes that feels a little bit weird in context of Star Trek, because a dude just got his head cut off. Like, man, half the time, like, phasers are just whoosh, and it turns the person a color for a second, and then they fade out of existence. It just is
not in the original
gruesome.
series. They just like zap them a little bit, and then they just like slowly slump to the ground.
Yeah,
which is just it's very exciting.
Yeah, but now you have swords involved and people getting cut into pieces. And
I thought that they were gonna have this as like, I keep wanting to call him Elrond, Elnor's like breakout scene, because they all had they had the goons, like he was the leader with the sword, and they had the goons with the sword.
Yeah,
I thought we were gonna get like a sword fight.
Honest
of
to goodness,
Elnor versus, so that you could be like,
right,
oh,
wow, he is good. Or, he does like this spin move with the quick, but it just felt like they could have gone more. I mean, if they're gonna have a dude with a sword, like let's see what he can do,
or some sort of bonding moment where Picard and him are back to back, ching chang, go full Pirates of the Caribbean.
Well, I mean, this does show that, because I think the best swordsmen use the least amount of moves to win the fight and get the job done.
Yeah, but there were 5 of them. Why couldn't we see him do this to all 5 of them?
Were there 5?
I thought there were only 3.
I think there were 3. I think he
there was 2 or 3 or 4. There could have been 5.
Yeah,
I bet Kaylee would have known how many.
Are we just going to dedicate this episode to Kaylee and what she might have known?
Hi, Kaylee.
She's
not going to be happy we're talking about her.
I'm going to be honest. Sarah would have gotten none of any of this. So
should Sarah and I start a podcast about Picard in direct competition to this one?
Yeah, if Kaylee
do it,
Kaylee takes over for me
over here. Yeah,
and Sarah and I start our own Picard podcast. There's no way that would go poorly.
That would be interesting, at least.
I want to hear it.
Right, I want to at least test it. Can you do a pilot? So then Picard.
You guys couldn't hear it. It would melt your minds. How awesome it is!
It's mind blowing. So this is when Picard decides to give his speech about how he's sorry.
I'm sorry, everybody.
The man's body is sitting there. I mean, the human head can live for 5 minutes after being severed, so the dude could still probably hear.
This is a Romulan head. We don't know how.
We don't. Stick
days.
Go Futurama route. Stick him in a jar of whatever that fluid is, and listen up, buddy. I'm real sorry about how I failed you all.
Yeah, and then Elnor publicly declares his loyalty to Picard in front of everybody.
And then they leave.
It's very moving. They're like,
yeah, and then Picard's like,
who are you?
That's the time to go, I guess.
Oh shoot, I forgot. the siren is
how did
under
the
fire.
Ship know to
the scene
transport both of them?
I think he says to transport, but I don't know how they knew Elnor's signature. Yeah,
who they accidentally pulled
because
the
in Next
dead
Gen,
senator's body.
It's always they know because of the communicators.
They have to put a communicator on somebody.
I could see if he was touching him or whatever, but they were several feet apart.
Yeah, and there are a bunch of other bodies around.
Yeah, how would they?
Good thing they didn't take the dead body with them.
The decapitated. Right, yeah. Wrong body.
No, the other one. Yeah, they just kind of yada past that. It made for a good scene.
Yeah.
2 to beam up, great, perfect.
Then he immediately gets scolded by Picard for
immediately.
Doing that. Yeah,
immediately. Sheer hubris. This guy.
That was my fight I was picking.
I had that under control.
I had him right where I wanted him. Jeez. Yeah, I don't know. So that's then a point against the thought of him trying to incite this fight to get Elnor to join. Because then Elnor joins and he's like, "What'd you do that for?" Jeez. I don't know.
His parietal lobe.
Yeah,
flared up.
He just becomes increasingly unreasonable. Oh man. So then they're in this fight with this bird of prey.
Yeah. Well, that's the end. Well, there's still a scene before that.
Oh, is there?
But then Eleanor gets introduced to everybody, and then it's finally revealed that the reason he joined is because the Co-op Milat will only bind themselves to a lost cause.
This seems like a horrible mission statement or like platform for an organization.
Yeah.
Only bind our swords to a lost cause.
The Kulats and Mulats, wouldn't
I don't know.
Wouldn't that mean that they should join?
They never get the
Picard?
job done.
Yeah, their training is like you don't have to train because
what's the point?
Nothing's expected of you.
Only by that was an interesting, like, either that or they're just so confident in their abilities that they're like, I can solve any problem that you've gotten yourself into.
Make the impossible happen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Which, I mean, the fact that they exist at all means they pull it off sometimes, right? Like, somehow.
Or these are just like the people that we saw were just the councilmen, like the board members, and the people that that run the training school. And there's no more of them around because they all just go die.
Picard wants help. We've got the boy still. Can we send him?
Even when they ask him, like before, when Picard's talking to the nanny,
Zanny,
the nanny,
Zanny, like, are you afraid he'll die? She's like, oh, he will. He said,
I thought she meant like
he'll die.
In the way we're all gonna die eventually.
Well, that's what I thought now. But in this new revelation that they're terrible,
they just send all their
like,
warriors off to death.
Yep. Are you afraid he might die? Oh no, for sure he will. But he needs to live first. She had just been watching Braveheart the night before.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, they would have been definitely down with William Wallace's whole shtick.
All men die.
Yeah.
No, all men truly live. She had just...
Either way, Elnor's a cool addition to the crew.
And the only point of this entire episode.
Yeah, basically. I mean, this was just the story of Elnor.
Nothing even really happened.
We know more about him than
there
anybody
was another
else.
Scene.
Yeah, we're about to go back
there's
there.
Another scene. Yeah. So let's go back there.
Yeah. Aboard the artifact, Narek is awoken by his sister Narissa in a creepy Game of Thrones scene.
Leaning more.
Every episode has this one kind of Game of Thrones type thing.
I think that's where they're going. She seemed awfully comfortable.
Yeah. And she asks about the things being anatomically correct.
Yeah. While trying to
do something.
Get on top of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Narek asks what happened with Ramda and her ship, and they have the same discussion that they've had the past 2 episodes. Narissa reminds him that Soji was sent to this cube for a reason, and that she might be playing him.
Oh.
And then she gives him a week before they go back to good old pain and violence.
Also giving us, the viewer, a week.
Which...
It's 1 week.
Good old pain and violence was your whole team got killed. That was not like... Yeah. Her plan of attack was just bad all the way around, and ultimately ended up with Dahj dying rather than being secured. So... I don't know why the
Let's
sister
do that again.
has so much. Yeah, she keeps acting like she's got the best plan here. Although Narek's plan is terrible too. This is just kind of a race to the bottom.
These are the 2 masterminds.
Right.
So.
No, I feel like Narek could get there.
I feel a little bit like this is the whole like Pokemon James and Jesse, the Team Rocket people. Like they're just the bumbling idiots.
They get foiled every single time.
Right, yeah.
But Narek's, though, could eventually... Like, if... He sort of messed it up. He sabotaged his own plan by calling her out. If he just would have leaned into the romance side of it, and then, like, courted her and dated for a while, and then got engaged, eventually she's going to want to be like, look, I want to be upfront with you.
Yeah.
I'm... fake, and I've only been alive for 3 years, and I have the sister, and I'm here. Wouldn't that be? You can see that eventually working. Like it's
maybe
the long play, a really long play, But they already know what happens when you just try and kidnap them.
So the rest of Narek's story arc just plays out basically like Ferris Bueller. Just kind of, they're on the cube, skipping school, they're having fun.
Yeah, and it's a rom-com.
Yeah. Okay, I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
Be way better than that Borg ritual that we had.
That feels like kind of part of it, though.
Okay, yeah, I guess they'd have way more time for that.
They're one of the episodes is them stealing a warship, just flying around, and they crash it, and have to cover it up somehow. Hugh is always trying to get them to stop being angsty on board the cube.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there.
The scene exists just to remind us that there is a time.
Mm-hmm.
There's a clock. And so now she says a week, and we're like, oh, the next episode comes out in a week. So we know that this part of the story, at least,
will move forward.
Is going to advance in some way.
That's true.
Assuming that time moves the same way.
Yeah. Or they could do one of those. Did you guys watch This Is Us?
Yeah.
On NBC. I was okay with it for like the first 2 seasons because I wanted to see what happened, but then I realized that they were never going to tell us what happened.
I think I've only seen like the first 2 seasons or season and a half, and it becomes kind of apparent. You're like, they're just gonna keep teasing.
They get into the future or the backstory of like this side character's dad, and then they go into.
Is this better or worse than like How I Met Your Mother? In terms of
worse,
because
they just keep expanding the cast and going deeper into their backstories. So maybe they never get there, and the next episode is like a whole episode of 14 years ago.
Yeah, and at least like How I Met Your Mother, they have a certain degree of irreverence where they can shrug things off because it's a sitcom, so it's like a joke. But this is straight up like the most heavy like drama that you can imagine, and
they just keep adding. Like it's well written, it all fits together in this web,
right? Yeah,
but they just keep expanding. So maybe that's what they're gonna do,
like melodrama stacked on top of melodrama, but
with forced created drama. Yeah, I got about a season and a half of the way.
That sounds a lot like Picard
through that, right? Yeah, maybe they're just fabricate drama out of nowhere.
All right, so now the crew is finally all together. Everybody we need for this adventure
in space
is now in space. They're all going to go find Soji. Here we go.
No more characters.
No more characters need added. We're fine now.
We're good.
Right where we are.
No.
What? More?
Well, yep. They're attempting to escape Vashti while being under attack by an old Romulan bird of prey.
Yeah.
Which, when they said bird of prey, and this is not the show's fault. This is like my fault for not realizing that there are 2 types of bird of preys. There's Romulan bird of preys. Whenever I hear bird of prey, I think of Klingon bird of preys.
Right, I do too. But I also...
that is a rookie mistake.
Yeah, there are Klingon birds of prey and there are Romulan birds of prey. But in Next Gen, most of the time Romulans are flying warbirds.
Yeah.
Again, they're using the term birds in both of these, and it's...
I don't know if that was just like a writing mistake at some point, but yeah, it's a confusing, especially since the Klingons and the Romulans are kind of 2 of the biggest villains of the show. Yeah, anyway.
Or they did it on purpose, because I knew what a bird of prey was. I knew that it was a villain.
That's the bad guys.
Villain's ship. So maybe
they did that in
it didn't
Star Wars. In
really matter what it was.
Trilogy. They're like, in the First Order flies TIE fighters.
And Star Destroyers. Yeah. If you would have called it a warbird, if that's the other I wouldn't have known. But they said bird of prey, and I was like, oh, that guy's bad.
That's that movie that was out this weekend. Because when I searched bird of prey, that's what came up. I'm like, no, not that. The Star Trek one.
How did you find out the difference then? Just sorry. Out of curiosity.
On Memory Alpha, I did like a little deep dive on.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know if that was like an accident thing that they just decided to roll with or what, but it is very confusing.
Mm-hmm.
Not to me. I was like, this is a bad ship.
Fire on the bird of prey. No, not that one. The other one.
The look of the old style bird of prey, I think, looks a lot like Dash Rendar's ship, the Outrider.
Yeah.
Only.
Oh, I can't think of that off the top of my head. Hang on, I'll have to look it up.
But yeah, so while the chase is happening, all of a sudden another ship shows up.
They said we're being pushed into the defense net. And I'm like, but you're in space. Can't you just
go the other way?
How are you getting
You got
cornered?
a lot of, yeah.
This planet represents a very, very small, small portion
All
of
of
the
space. Well, we already heard from Dr. What's-Her-Face, not Pulaski. That's all I'm coming up with. Girardi.
It's just a large collection of things.
That's a whole lot of stuff.
They'll just
out
run
there.
into another
That's
planet.
Right. You can't just keep running forever. Anyway, the other ship shows up.
Mm-hmm. And
the much smaller, much faster ship.
But it manages to help him out. And then it gets damaged, and before it explodes, the crew beams aboard the pilot, who is revealed to be 7 of 9.
Wow.
And she tells Picard that he owes her a ship before collapsing to the floor and ending the episode.
Wow.
7 of 9. I can't believe they went there.
Well, this seems like a good place to end the episode. We'll pick... So I'm curious... What was your response there, Joel, to like they beamed somebody on board?
I expected it to be Poe Dameron because
great crossover.
Because
that's
he was
one
like,
hell of a
that's
pilot."
one hell of a pilot. I was like, what's Poe Dameron? He's the only guy that can. But no, my reaction was, oh, that's got to be somebody that we know.
Who?
Because he calls her... I'd heard the name 7 of 9 before.
Yeah.
I'd heard it. Maybe you guys had mentioned it, or...
I think we talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
So I knew... I didn't know that that's who it was.
Yeah. They really didn't... as far as being friendly to newcomers, they gave nothing on this front.
Like I said, I have absolutely no doubt that they will explain everything that I need to know.
That's
the
fair.
Next episode.
Yeah. The important things about 7 of 9 is she is a former Borg.
I got that because of her eyebrow thing.
Yeah, just a lot like Hugh. She was in Voyager, which I actually have not made it all the way through Voyager.
I've not watched a single episode.
I've tried to get through it a couple times, and at this point I've honestly just skipped right to where 7 of 9 is introduced, because the rest of that show is just struggling the whole time. She's by far the most interesting thing that's happened, and the tough thing is the rest of Voyager is now struggling to figure out what the story is outside of just it becoming the 7 of 9 show, because they reclaim her and she's starting to like rediscover her humanity, and so there's this wacky like odd couple dynamic of like the Borg are all about efficiency. They don't bother learning things. They just assimilate cultures that they want something from. And
instant gratification.
Yeah. She never sits down. She never plays or has love interests or anything. And so her integrating into a fairly regular crew is like, what's going to happen this week? She's also the only other than Hugh, I guess, to a much less extent. Picard was a Borg for a period of time, and then was reclaimed.
Picard in Voyager?
I don't think he ever even shows up in Voyager. Other people.
So how did they know each other?
Jonathan Frakes directed a couple episodes. We don't. That's what I'm curious about. I don't think they do, unless they met outside of
in a
the shows.
movie. I believe it was an Insurrection where Picard has a conversation with Captain Janeway, I believe. She has like a brief cameo in that movie, but I don't think 7 of 9 did.
Yeah. Depending on timeline, the only thing that makes, the only connection I could make is I think Picard would have been assimilated and come back from the Borg while Seven of Nine was a Borg. And so she probably just has knowledge of him just because of the assimilated knowledge. But I don't know that they've ever directly interacted.
Yeah.
That's the only bridge I could make.
Was she in a Federation uniform?
At the end here?
Yeah.
No, she was
wasn't.
in just kind of a
Maybe
cowboy.
Maybe
kind of
he
thing.
got her fired too.
Oh,
He
he's
might
getting
have.
everybody fired.
Getting everybody fired.
So yeah, I don't know how she knows about Picard, what he's doing, why she showed up. She's interesting in terms of she's the only other main cast that was Borg and came back.
So we'll see what they do with that.
Right. She was also just another fan favorite character. Yeah. And so it's cool to see her back. I saw an interview with Jerry Ryan and Patrick Stewart talking about Star Trek, and the interviewer was geeking out. And Patrick Stewart was asking her, Jerry Ryan, questions about her show, because he was like, because I've never watched any of it. And she was like, oh. Because he was asking her, they were talking about the early episodes, the Starfleet uniforms were so tight, they didn't think they could air it on network television because it showed off too much of Patrick's little Stewart. And so then he asked her about, like, did you guys wear the uniforms? He was like, and she was like, no, I wore a cat suit. Like she was brought in as eye candy, and it was
in a cat
awkward.
suit.
Yeah, she, like not like a
not like Catwoman,
but like in like a skin tight kind of a thing. And he was like, "Oh, how provocative!" Yeah, that was her character. So like even the actors didn't really know much about each other.
Interesting.
It's cool to have her on board. She's probably the next best thing to Data.
She's definitely the last crew member.
Definitely not adding anybody else.
This is it. We've had 4 episodes of getting ready to go. I feel like every week we're like, all right, we're ready to go.
So we know though we know that Riker and Deanna have a scene at least.
Yeah. Jonathan Frakes directed this episode.
He did, yeah. But we know that they have a scene coming at least, so that means we're stopping off at another planet. Unless they're on Free Cloud, we're going to stop somewhere else to meet them too.
I think we go to Free Cloud next episode.
I
I'm
mean,
pretty confident.
I am too.
Yeah, I hope so.
From the next time on
Yeah.
Picard, it seems like we at least find Banner. Is it Banner?
No, Maddox.
Maddox.
I'm like Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
Yes, the crossover we all wanted.
Yes!
Planet Hulk
Banner.
right into Star Trek.
Banner.
Yeah. I mean, the only other character that I think might fit into this narrative is maybe Alexander, Worf's son. That would be interesting to catch up with him and see what he's up to. No,
Can we just do it?
I don't. I
Just
really.
go.
I'm amazed. Like the pilot episode was great. It was really good. It did a
Agreed.
great job setting the stage.
Yeah.
I really wish almost all the rest of this was just episode 2, and that episode 3 we were already on our way. This is so much setup for. There's so much work to get a relatively small crew all in the same place at
With
the same
6
time.
episodes left to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and then a whole other second season.
If they carry it on,
That's when we find out about their
Like,
third twin.
if any of the main elements of this storyline exist in the second season,
True.
because then it's just sort of like season 1A and season 1B. Like, I feel like most shows wrap up a majority of what they're talking about in one season.
Yeah, so you're thinking like we figure out whatever's happening with Soji, but the Tal Shiar are still a threat in season 2.
Yeah, or they go into more of like the Borg.
Yeah,
and
the
why are
synthetic life
they?
forms
So it seems like, I guess I don't know what, but if we just have 10 episodes and then we gotta wait more for them to resolve this season, like that's gonna frustrate me.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. Like it's just been a stuttered start.
But then if they keep this cast, I guess, for the future seasons, then it's not, I guess, that much investment into putting together a cast.
I guess so. I don't know. This is it's a cool cast that they have together now. Like, I was really content with what we got last episode, and then the 2 that they've added, Elnor and 7 of 9. Those are great additions. Like, they both add a lot to what could happen and what will happen. And I mean, I'm always down for a good sword fight. I don't know.
And she seems, from the previews, capable with various firearms.
7 of 9, yeah.
So
she's
at least
pretty dang capable.
They're good in a fight.
Yeah. I think what fans are probably looking for most from 7 of 9 is how much of her humanity has she reclaimed. Because she seemed more casual in this than she did in the rest of Voyager that I've seen. Even the fact that she, before fainting, adds a quip was a big deal. She got literally one line, and fans were like, "This seems like a very different 7 of 9 than we've seen before," because she fainted different. But I don't know. I hope they have some fun with it.
Yeah,
I'm excited to get going.
I mean, the next episode is just going to be 20 minutes of him catching 7 of 9 up to speed.
Yeah.
That's all it's going to be. Well, here's what's happened in my
life.
life.
And then she claims that he abandoned her and put her in a bad
Right,
situation.
yeah.
And then on the artifact, we're just going to have Rizzo and Narek interrogating Soji, and so they're just going to rehash everything again.
Exactly. It's going to play out exactly like when they caught Dahj.
Like in the old seasons of Survivor, they would have like halfway through, they would have like a recap episode with some like deleted scenes. It wasn't any new content. It was just, they would just be like, remember, and they'd show like the first 6 vote outs. Maybe that's what they're going to do.
Could be.
With
this
the 5th episode.
It's a pretty common anime trope too.
But they'll keep it as part of the story, like explaining it to 709 and Soji. We're just going to rehash everything
every time.
Make sure that everybody.
They finally get to Soji. Here we go. Right back to the beginning. I met your sister.
You had a
Dahj.
sister.
Yeah. I know. I had a sister. She's looking for puppies.
20 years ago, a man died, and I loved him very much. You were his offspring.
Kind of.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Not really at all.
He made a painting of you once.
Right. There was a picture that looked kind of like you.
Vaguely like a white Asian girl-ish. And it sort of looks like you, but I'm pretty convinced it's you.
He was your dad.
Because reasons? Anyway, does this necklace mean anything to you?
Yeah, I saw Joanna Gaines had a belt loop.
I love that show.
Just like
well, then.
Yeah, in the meantime...
maybe that's why the artifact is so nice, is because Chip and Joanna Gaines had an episode of Fixer Upper on the Borg cube.
That would have been a nice episode.
A nice little crossover between like real world stuff.
We're Chip and Joanna Gaines. Chip, I need you to hold that up there. Do you like that?
What are we going to do with this space? Well, I've got an idea.
We want to do an open concept, and I want to put some shiplap up on your your walls.
Now, we don't want anybody to feel superior to anybody else, so every room is going to be exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
Do you have the guts to take on a fixer-upper?
All right.
So, yeah.
I think that wraps the
Finally,
show.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Good stuff on Free Cloud. Next episode. Yeah.
It does look interesting what they do next episode. It looks like they're sort of going to a Canto Bight type Las Vegas planet.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I hope they ride horses. through a casino. That's what
That'd be so fun.
You hope they sideline. Forget Soji. You know what's really important? These horses have to be free. I can't go on saving the universe if these horses live in captivity.
And Rios will make a comment about how he's doing so well after just one lesson. Yeah. Episode 5.
Here
coming
we go.
up.
Engage. All right, take us out.
That's Travis's line.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
But before we do that...
We can edit that out.
So,
edit out him saying engage.
Speaking of Star Wars, the Clone Wars is coming back this Friday, February 21st on Disney+. And we're going to be covering that show as that whole series wraps up, starting next week in a new podcast called Clone Corner. So we're looking forward to that launching. And as we wait on the next episode of Star Trek Picard, episodes of this show can be found on the main Who Watches feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and any podcast of your choice. And every episode is also available on YouTube, and whatever service you're listening to us on, please subscribe and leave us a review, as those greatly help us out. You can find us on Twitter at WhoWatchesPod, and on Instagram and on Facebook. So, until next week, set course for Season 1, Episode 5, Stardust City Rag. Warp 9, engage.
Are y'all ready to see your fixer-upper? We're ready.
Do it!
We're ready.
Whoa!
That's what all this is about. A lot has changed in the past 300 years. People are no longer obsessed with the accumulation of things. We have eliminated hunger, want, the need for possessions.
Why can't anybody ever pick the easy one? You know, I mean, the one that it's like, yeah, we gotta, paint the bathroom.
I know. It's your fault. You're the one that showed him the house.
I know, that was stupid.